So we're getting really close on our collaborative sketches. I don't know if we'll quite be able to finish them in this video, but we should be able to get close to it. We have the ability now to draw. And so in some ways, it's kind of a positive thing. We are at the point where we have a single user drawing program. And we've just done things like make sure that it's built out of things that we can serialize. Okay? Other than that, we haven't really done that much for networking. And we put in the RMI traits, but I haven't even implemented those yet. So so this really isn't a networked program at this point. And in some ways that should almost make us happy, because that implies that once you have something written that is single user, if you've kind of thought about the fact that it needs to be networked, it might not be too hard to network it using RMI. We need to add in a few more things. So we left off with the ability to only add to use our first type of sketchable. We have a sketch path, but when we click on the buttons to do line or rectangle or ellipse or even the freeform, we don't get a setting for that. So I did not copy, let's see, it's called SketchCreator. So inside of these, flip. Okay. So inside of each of these action events, we would need to set the SketchCreator to build one of our, to build a little function that creates sketches for us using the mouse event. We already had the version of the one for building a path. We just need to have them for the other types as well. So we have our sketch line, our sketch rectangle, and our sketch ellipse. And now when the user selects one of these, it will change what the SketchCreator is, which means that when they click the next time, we will get a different type of sketchable in there that is added into our buffer and that reacts to the mouse. Okay, what other to-dos do we have in here? So we have to send an update to the drawing. We haven't done chatting yet. And then there's this thing that when the sketch is updated, redraw the sketch, sending, chat. Okay, so everything that's left inside of here is related to the networking aspects of this. Okay, so we have our collaborator class here, and what we really need to do is when we build one of these, we need to pass it a remote, one of the remote servers. And that's actually remote collaboration server. So we'll pass one of those in. That way it has the ability to just communicate with that, and we'll assume that our main is going to deal with finding one of those. So we got our sketch. I also want a private, and I can make it a val, a sketches. And what I want to do here is I'm going to turn this into a mutable map. And the reason why I'm doing that is we have a bunch of remote collaborators, and each one is going to have their own sketch. And so I want to make a to put together a mutable map of remote collaborator to sketch. Now when we join the server gives us back just a bunch of remote collaborators. Okay, so let's get all of those. So val collabs equals server dot join collaboration, and we pass it ourselves so that we get added, and so when anyone else asks, they'll get that as well. Okay. Now I need to run through these collaborators, and I'm going to build a mutable map, mutable dot map, L before E, a mutable dot map that is going to be built out of these collaborators. And I want to take each collaborator, we'll call them C, and I want to basically ask them for their sketch so that I can build this map. But of course I have to remember that everything that happens across as a remote call might throw an exception, and so I'm going to be safe about that. You know, you can, if you forget that, well, then what winds up happening is if you forget that, then this will wind up throwing an exception if someone's network connection has died or something like that. And what I want to do here is I'm actually making this map go from the remote collaborator to a so our remote collaborator C, and this is to a sketch that they are drawing. Okay. I want to take all of those. I'm going to filter out the ones that are empty. It ate one of my parentheses there. And then I want to pull out from all these options just the ones that actually have tuples. So since I've gotten rid of all the empty ones, it's actually safe to go ahead and get all the others. And what are we unhappy with here? Am I missing? Get is not a member of sequence of. So at that point I am closing off my map, and so I should have a sequence of options. Oh yeah, wait, the map to get. There we go. Okay. So now sketches should be a map of remote collaborator to sequence of sketches, and indeed that's what we have, and that's what we want in here. We're going to be updating this map. That's why it's a mutable map, so that we can add new things in when people connect and take them out. Redraw sketch, send update sketch to other clients. Well, actually we can add this. The question is, how do we get to all of our clients? And this is something we're going to be doing quite a bit, is running through all of our collaborators. So I'm actually going to put that functionality inside of a separate method. So we'll say for each collaborator, because also when we do this, we're going to want to have the try catches and whatnot. So we will pass this a function that takes a remote collaborator and does something. So it gives back unit. We don't really care what it gives back. Whoops, but that's going to go down below. For here, what do I want to do is I want to send them all the sketch. Okay, so we've now drawn something, and we have to send it out to everyone. If it's just going to be that, yeah, we could call underscore dot update sketch, ETCH, on this with our sketch. So now we need to go write this method, and we'll put that somewhere down here, private def. This is going to take a function that takes a remote collaborator, and it's going to give us back nothing because it's just supposed to do something with that remote collaborator. The whole method is going to give us back nothing. And what it needs to do is it needs to run through each of the collaborators. Well, where are we storing the collaborators? We don't have a sequence of them. What we have, though, is we have the sketches, which is a map from remote collaborators to their actual sketches. So I can run through all of the keys of the sketches, and it's possible to ask a map for its keys, and then for each one of them we're going to try to do something, and it might fail because it might get a remote exception. If it gets a remote exception, in this case we're not going to do anything about it, we're just going to swallow it. We just don't want it to crash our code and prevent what we're doing from happening to the other collaborators. We want to make sure this for loop goes all the way through. Whereas if we didn't do this, the first collaborator who had an error would prevent all the other collaborators from getting their message or whatever it is that we're doing with them. Okay, so let's see, clear button. Actually, this is now something that we can do just based on what we have. Our sketch is a buffer. It's mutable, and so we can clear it out. Then we would need to redraw the sketch, and then we'd need to send that to everyone else. So we could say for each collaborator, I'm just going to use the underscore notation, underscore dot update sketch this and our sketch. Oh, now this is a fun issue here. Okay, one of the things about this is it refers to the immediately bounding object, and because of the way that, let's see, I think it's the way we're writing our stage here and our scene, because these are nested, I'm pretty sure that this, let's hover over the error, is actually, it's a scene. Okay, but I need the collaborator this, and so it's something you don't have to do all that often, because you actually don't even use this all that often, but you can put a type dot this where the type is a bounding scope. So because this code is inside of class collaborator, I can put collaborator dot this to make it clear which of the bounding objects I want to use for this. Okay. Sketch updated. What should this do? That would send, so okay, that would possibly do the code. I'm not calling this anyplace, I don't think, but if it was going to be called someplace, I would just do this code right here. Okay. We have the chat. We have a request sketch. Someone asks for our sketch, so we give them our sketch. That's a fairly simple one. And update sketch. Someone else has updated their sketch. What should we do? Well, we should take our sketches for that person and set it equal to the sketch that was passed in. And then we need to redraw. Okay. We still have an error in main because we're not connecting to the server, but with the exception of chat, oh wait, draw other sketches. That's also something we can do. And in this case, I don't need the collaborator. I do need their sketch in sketches s dot for each underscore dot draw to SketchGC. You'll note this is exactly what we're doing here on our sketch, but instead of calling it on that, we're calling it on the sketch from the map. Okay, so my only two to-dos that are left in here are the chat and handling the carriage return, and then I have in my main the finishing off the RMI stuff. We'll have to come back and write that code next time.